Wild one. Can you read that?
Wild one.
Wild
Yep,
one.
I see it.
I was very intrigued by this wine last night. I drank a little bit of the Grenache, and I was like, oh, that's pretty tasty. I was like, wow, that Cab Franc's going to have a lot of competition. And dude, it tied that young calf up, hog-tied it, and it is a great wine. It's got, I noticed a lot of spice in this particular Cab Franc. Did you? You pick up a lot of spice?
I did, yeah. But this Cab Franc for me is like, even just when initially on the aroma, it's like, I know I'm gonna love this wine. It's just all those dark black berries, and oh my gosh, it smells delicious, and it lives up to it when you taste it.
Yeah, it's. I think we're getting back to what we were talking about is helping people kind of transition from one, a lighter body style. This is now we're headed into that medium body for sure,
Yeah.
and there's going to be some tannins in this. But I think somebody that was kind of just really getting into red wine and hadn't really tasted a lot of other varietals, say Cab, or they had been down the Cab route, or we've had Syrah, you get into, this is not necessarily esoteric, but this is more, this is the Cab Franc that, kind of, super Tuscan-ish. I mean, it is a beautiful wine.
This is rich and opulent. It's delicious. It has that wonderful aroma. The taste is great. It's the dark skinned black grapes, so black raspberry, ripe plum, black currant with little notes of vanilla in there, and all of those tastes and aromas, when it hits your palate, it's absolutely wonderful. This is one of my, well, I'm not allowed to say favorites, right? But I must admit the Cab Franc I love Cab Sauvignon, but the Cab Franc just has these less pronounced tannins. It has lower acidity. You get all that fruit flavoring, and you get that lush, delicious, silky, smooth finish. Can you tell I like this one?
I couldn't tell at all.
Yep, it's like the words just come flowing out of my mouth, and
I was going to say, I can tell when you like something because you start talking even faster.
I know. It's like I'm trying to get all the words into one phrase, and then I use my hands too, because that's what I do. And I'm like, oh, it's the dark cherry, and my son's like, how does that dark cherry go? I said it goes like this. It's because it's like the flavor just comes and then it bursts in your mouth. And with this one, I know we say blackberry, but for me, I'm getting black currant, which is a little bit sweeter, but it has that very rich, smooth, lengthy finish. That's what I love about this one. It's a very opulent wine.
It really is. It really is. I've got there were some herbs in this last night that we were tasting, and so my wife had just planted an herb. We transferred some of our herbs into a pot, and so I went and grabbed some of those out of there, just those fresh leaves, and I took the oregano and the thyme, and just rub that back and forth on my fingers a little bit, and then and just kind of get a little bit of that smell, and then you go to the wine and you smell, and you can get that herbaceousness in there.
Yeah,
was like, oh, that's it. You're getting that hints of oregano, hints of thyme, and that I love kind of that fresh herbaceous type of smells. So it's fun things to do. Those are great things that you can say, oh, I smell rosemary, or that. We'll go out and grab some rosemary, rub a couple of those needles in your hands, and just see, maybe is it rosemary, or is it oregano or some other spice.
Well, it's good if you have them to hand. that would be a nice thing to have in the tasting room if we had little bits of all of those, so that people could. I've seen that happen before. You put it in a glass and just cover it, and people can get the aroma, and then they can just relate to the wines a little bit better. Then, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We should probably we've got some new pots, flower pots out front on the patio. Maybe we start throwing some herbs in those when those flowers start to expire here. So.
Right. Now I have just tried the Cab Franc I opened last night.
Mm-hmm.
And you just saw me opening this right now. And you know what? This Cab Franc is delicious. I would say decant it, but I honestly don't think this one needs to be decanted. I think it tastes wonderful as is. What do you think?
I had not tried the one that I opened last night.
It's just wonderful, elegant structures in this.
Yeah, I love the Grenache it had good front and mid palate. This man, it just stays with you. It's got a great finish on it.
It hits all of the tasting regions you need it to hit, and then when it goes down, it's so lengthy in the finish, it just leaves you wanting more. This is definitely my wine. This is going to probably sell out very, very quickly, because this is absolutely perfect for a Cab Franc, in my opinion.
Oh, if you're a red wine drinker, Grenache can be a little thin for people. This is meaty. This is the wine I opened yesterday, and it's just as aromatic.
It is. And the color is wonderful. It's that rich, dark, beautiful color that everyone loves. And just the, little bit of chocolate covered strawberries in there in the back end, which just, that little hint of chocolate as it goes down is wonderful. And that just makes it very Moorish.
No, it does. And that's, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a chocolate fiend. So
yeah, me too.
and this would be a wine that I would throw dark chocolate at all day.
Definitely. This is really nice. And then for food pairing, like grilled steak or chops, and portobello mushrooms, things like that. Something with a nice robust sauce would be like a beautiful mushroom sauce. And then again, being British, I have to give you the British version. So the British food, I would say, with this one would be beef Wellington. If you'd done it with the filet mignon with that beautiful flaky pastry, it would go wonderful.
Yeah, no, I didn't. You're right on with that. I didn't think about a beef Wellington. That would go really well. Yeah, I'm. Kind of one of the first thing that came to me was kind of a pork tenderloin. Was as soon as I opened this, I love pairing with food, and so that's usually the first thing. Rather than going through all the aromatics, my mind is going. I was like, okay, what am I going to pair this with?
Yeah, what's it going with? Yeah.
Yeah. So, where there's some people, we won't name out loud, Craig, but he's going to go wine geeky into the wines in the profile. I love kind of getting into the shallow end of the pool with the wines, and then I'm gonna take a right turn. I'm going to, okay, what are we going to pair with this?
Well, that's what people are always going to ask you in the tasting room. So you kind of have to go there when you're in the tasting room. Yeah.
And so for me, right, the first thing that really kind of stood out was a pork tenderloin on the barbecue. I think the portobello. If you're a vegetarian, the portobello would be beautiful with this wine.
Yeah, definitely. And just doing something with the mushroom sauce. Like if you've done that, even you could do a pork tenderloin with the mushroom sauce. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, and we're getting into that category where I think you can get into a little bit more of your heartier cheeses with this particular wine.
I'm thinking with this one, maybe camembert, brie, some blue cheese. Yeah,
no, definitely. When you toast some walnuts with this, scrape up some brie in this. follow that with the Cab Franc. I mean, it's going to be mouth-watering. You'll get to the end of that bottle, I think, pretty quickly.
Definitely. I mean, if you have that Grenache first, you have that with your hors d'oeuvres, you have this with your main course. Perfect.
It would be. This would be definitely. Hey, welcome to our deck, and the Cab Franc going to be definitely welcome to our meal.
Yeah, definitely. This is this is going to sell out really quickly. I'm definitely going to buy some of this before it goes, because if you wait until it's too late, it's all gone.
Yeah, you know, and you know, it's interesting. I don't know a lot about the winemaking process, but you know, this in particular wine, part of the naming side of it is the wild one is, and they're using wild yeast from the vineyards to begin that fermentation process. And so just that naturally, and the way the wind blows out there at Horse Heaven Hills, for all those that have ever been out there, to any of the harvest parties, which are fantastic. So if you didn't get an opportunity to go on one, I'm sorry, but maybe in a couple of years we'll have one again.
Yeah, I'm the newbie. Remember, I have not done this, and I have done this in other places, but not for ANC. So I do need to do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we won't be able to have gatherings of that size out at the winery probably for a while, but you know, the wind blows a lot out there, and so the particles of yeast are attached to the grapes, and Cab Franc really lends itself to a wild fermentation or wild yeast fermentation. So it's just another little fun fact with the particular wine, and why it's why we nicknamed it the Wild One.
Yeah, I love the Wild One. I love the names. Purple Rain, the Wild One, Mr. Big, all of these things. The names are really great. And you know what? The members that come in remember the wines by the names and not the actual grape a lot of the time. So being new at ANC, that's a little bit, you know, they come in and they ask for something like Mr. Big, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? So you need to learn these things very quickly.
Is that the one that you're looking forward to?
How did you guess? You see, it's like I can't hide anything, can I?
This is one of my all-time favorites. Not the discard Wild One Cab Franc, but
yeah, no, I love the Cab Franc. The Cab Franc is delicious, but I do want to try the Mr. Big too.
Yeah, I'm a big Pete Syrah fan, so yeah, we had an opportunity to taste it the other day. And that wine is usually so big that
hence the name Mr. Big.
Yeah, it needs another 6 months typically. I mean, it tastes good out of the bottle, but it's like, holy moly, this is a monster.
Right. Hey, we better not start doing that. Someone else is reviewing that one, right?
I know.
You're talking about the Cab Franc.
I know. Thanks for keeping me back on task.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the winemaking team has done a really good job with this wine. I think they've, you know, the process of determining how long and the barrel combination and how many months that they're going to age this in, and how much is new French oak, and in this case it's 35% new French oak.
Yeah.
Sorry, not COVID, just allergies. 65% is 2 to 3 year old French oak, so we're a little bit more on the neutral side there, and determining that process, I think they've done a fabulous job with this wine.
Yeah, definitely. I think the oak is what gives it that vanilla nuance in there. And that's really nice. I do like that. And having worked at a French winery before, there was a lot of that going on. So, right. You know, having worked there, I learned a lot about the oak and of course the French oak in particular. So that was really nice. But I do love this. I mean, this is perfect. I love the color. I love the flavor. I love the fact that it is very smooth and rich and opulent. It's perfect. This is definitely my end of the day meal wine that I need to have. And then, you know, maybe at the end of that, maybe a little bit of port after this would be lovely.
There you go. Yeah, I think I don't, I don't think people should be afraid of pulling the, a lot of people will be like, hey, on a cab or or a cab blend, Bordeaux style, what have you. 100% Cab Franc. I mean, I would
Yeah.
pull this out and almost not
Well,
even tell people.
I have a friend who's been asking me about Cab Franc in a while, and I've just told her, hey, 100% Cab Franc. I've just tasted it, and she's like, oh my God, I'm going to buy a couple of cases. I'm like, yep. Because I tell her, I know what her wine taste is. I'm like, this is perfect. You're going to want this. And she's like, okay, let me know when I can get it. So that's perfect. Yeah.
I'm super excited. These wines, again, we do 3 releases a year. And this is one of my favorite red releases of the reds that we do. This is my 4 favorite reds that we put out every year. So, it's
well, this is
we're
since
just
working
talking about
at ANC.
not everybody else in the world.
I know. Since working at ANC, this is the second Cab Franc that I've tasted, and they definitely are right up there where they should be. It's perfect.
Yeah, no, this is a great wine. Unfortunately, as you said, we don't make enough of this. It's not going to be around very long.
Yeah. But that's a good thing, though. It's better that than having too much wine and people don't buy it. You're better making something that's wonderful, especially for club members, because that's what makes people want to be in the club.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't go to the general public. It goes to the club members first. The club members know it's going to sell out, and they buy it quickly. And that's what they do. If you love it, you have to buy it quickly because it's going to sell out.
Yeah, we were. I was just kind of looking through some of the notes, and it ended up being a little bit of a cooler vintage, which is great because a lot of times you'll end up with a heavier alcohol in those hotter vintages. And I mean, this wine is balanced really well. It's got the proper acidity. I mean, it's top notch. So
because normally I would say with most of the wines when they're newer, you would want to decant it because it normally makes it a little softer. It makes it a little richer and simmers the natural spices. But this one right now does not even need that, which is perfect.
You typically decant your wines?
Well, it depends. If they're new ones, there's certain ones that need to do, especially the blends, because you don't get that full flavor coming through when you initially open it. So when it's a blend and it's new, sometimes it's a little tight. The tannins are a little vibrant up front, and I do that. I do decant. But this one, I expected I had to, but I really don't think I do.
And I heard through the grapevine you have like a fancy decanter.
I do have a fancy decanter. You want to see my fancy decanter?
Is that weird?
No, because you know what? This is the winery I used to work at, so I'm going to do this anyway. The winery I used to work at, people would come over and say, I hear there's a show here. And I thought, excuse me? They just wanted to see the decanting process. So I will do it for you because it's just fun to watch.
Those decanters are great. They really are. And I think to your point, if you have a wine that's, it seems a little tight, typically those are your younger wines. That's a great way to really kind of get that wine to open up versus letting it just sit on the counter for an hour or two.
Yeah, and I think with this one too, because it kind of it aerates at 25% one way, 75 the other, it's 100%. So basically, it's equivalent to have it open for 4 or 5 hours, which is perfect. Because most people don't open wine and think I'll have that 4 or 5 hours. It's like I want it now. And then if they're in a restaurant and they're taking the time having a meal, by the time they get to the end of the bottle, they're like, oh, that's really nice. And it's not because now they've had the wine and they don't really know. It's because now it's opened up and that flavor is exactly where it should be. And that's what happens when you open it in advance.
Yeah, and it's one of those, if you don't have one of those at home, I learned from a sales rep from an Australian winery, Molly Duker, and they call it the Molly Duker shake. And that's another way to basically do it is pour down, pour off about a half a glass to 3/4 of a glass, put the cork back in, and give that bottle a good shake.
Oh, right.
And that will get that wine just kind of, it'll it just kind of gives it a little shock and starts waking it up.
Well, see, I find when you decant, it's something like a GSM, because the Mourvedre, I love Mourvedre. Lots of people don't love that, but Mourvedre for me is one of my favorite grapes. And sometimes, I mean, mostly in a GSM, not at ANC, but at other wineries, it's normally the least percentage in there. So if you don't decant that or aerate it, then you don't really get that flavor from that Mourvedre.
It gets lost, for sure. That's
Voila.
a great point.
You see, it goes straight back into the bottle. It's so easy. There's no mess, nothing. And you can, if you want to, leave it in the decanter or vice versa, put it straight back into the bottle.
Perfect. That's awesome. I know what I'm going to ask for Father's Day. A bottle of Cab Franc and a decanter.
Yeah, well, they're so easy to find. Do you know what? We should sell them at ANC because everyone asks for them.
I know. That's awesome. Well, Carol, this has been fantastic. I haven't had an opportunity to work with you a lot up to this point. We've had we've had a few wine encounters between now and then, but this is fantastic. I love chatting with you, and especially about the wines. I think they're showing really well, and particularly the Cab Franc. Definitely a wild one. But yeah, if you're looking for big, bold, and red, and with great body structure, balance, nice rounded palate, I mean, this wine's a winner.
Yep, definitely. This is the because you're worth it wine.
Oh, I like that. Because you're worth it.
That's right. Well, thanks for letting me do this, and I hope it's okay. I'm so new to this, and Zoom is really, really weird for me, but hey.
I think this is going to be kind of the wave of the future a little bit for probably the next couple of releases. We'll end up having to do some of these, but it's okay.
It is.
You know,
well, I mean, it gives the clientele a little insight to what we think of the new wines coming out, because normally we would have this conversation with customers in the tasting room. So at least they can go on and find out what our opinion is. And, you know, sometimes, like I said, people think, well, you know, this person knows what I like, so I'll listen to them. And, you know, we have so many different personalities in the tasting room. It's great because it's something for everyone. And what I always tell people when they come in, you know, it doesn't matter if it's your first time or if you've done this forever. You may know more than I do, which is fine. I'm happy to listen to you. But if it's someone who's really nervous and it's their first time tasting, it's like, hey, we've all been there. It's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... Come get wild with us at ANC. There we go.
Yeah, that's right. Wild one.
Wild one. Awesome. Well, thank you. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this.